Míle fáilte agus lá féile hana duit. That means 100,000 welcomes and happy St. Patrick's Day in Gaelic. My name is Chef Diane Stopford, and this week what I'm going to do is show you how to cook up the ultimate St. Paddy's Day feast. And I'm talking real Irish food cooked by yours truly, a real Irish girl. What we have here is some beef and Guinness. That's my dad's recipe. Some colcannon, some Irish soda bread with our lovely Irish cheeses and butter, and of course all washed down with the perfect Irish coffee. You can't have food without drink in Ireland, and of course one of our most famous drinks is the Irish coffee. The Irish coffee was actually developed by a barman Dan at Shannon Airport in the west of Ireland, and he wanted to create a nice warm drink for some Irish tourists that were coming in on their transatlantic flights. So he mixed some coffee along with some good Irish whiskey and a little cream, and that's how the Irish coffee was born. To start off making your Irish coffee, get some nice strong coffee like I have here. What you want to add to it is some brown sugar. Just put that in and stir it around and make sure it gets dissolved. What the sugar is going to do is it's actually going to help you float the cream on top, which is kind of the most important part other than the whiskey. Next, of course, we've got your Irish whiskey. Now I'm using some Jameson because I'm from Dublin and it's a Dublin whiskey, but you know, use whatever Irish whiskey you want. So I'm just gonna pour in our whiskey, and don't be mean, of course. And actually, whiskey in Irish is Uisce-Bheatha, and Uisce-Bheatha means water of life. So you can see how important whiskey is to the Irish. And then we're gonna float the cream on top. Now, if you're gonna make an Irish coffee, I really think you should do it properly. Don't get out the can of whippy cream and just whip it up on top. You need to pour it on nice and gently, and then you sip the Irish coffee through the cream. So just take a spoon like this and hold it with the back of the spoon facing up and just pour on some lightly whipped cream. And hopefully, if everything goes to plan, it's just gonna float on top and not sink to the bottom. And you will get that Irish coffee, almost like a pint of Guinness effect on top. Slowly pour that in. And there you have a traditional Irish coffee. Cheers, or as we say in Ireland, sláinte, which means to your health. Míle fáilte agus lá féile hana duit. That means 100,000 welcomes and happy St. Patrick's Day in Gaelic. My name is Chef Diane Stopford, and this week what I'm going to do is show you how to cook up the ultimate St. Paddy's Day feast. And I'm talking real Irish food cooked by yours truly, a real Irish girl. What we have here is some beef and Guinness. That's my dad's recipe. Some colcannon, some Irish soda bread with our lovely Irish cheeses and butter, and of course all washed down with the perfect Irish coffee. In Ireland, you can't start your day without some soda bread. It's one of the simplest and easiest breads to make. There's no proving, there's no yeast, none of that. So you can pretty much make it together in 2 or 3 minutes, throw it in the oven for about 45, and you've got fresh bread on your table. There's a couple of different types of bread that we eat in Ireland. There's brown soda bread, there's white soda bread, and there's fruit soda bread. One of my favorites in the morning is brown soda bread. It's really rich. White soda bread is great for mopping up sauces or stew, and that's what we're going to make right now. So, all I have is about a pound of flour in the bowl here, and I'm just going to add in a little bit of sugar, some salt, and some, of course, baking soda, which is going to make it rise, what gives the name to our soda bread. Just make a little well in the middle there, and add the buttermilk. That. And then just with your hand, just work it in together. The great thing about it is, even if it's a day old or so, if you just toast it with lots and lots of Irish butter on top, it tastes great. So You could also add in some raisins or sultanas or some dried fruit into this as well. You can see that dough has just come together in a bowl, the bowl, that simple. And just put it out onto a flour board. Just put some flour down and pour out your dough. You just want to get it into a nice mound. You don't have to fuss about it too much, and you really don't want to handle it too much either. Now, next, all you've got to do is take a knife and put a cross in it. Now, there's a lot of superstition and stories about why you put a cross in the soda bread. Some people say, you know, you're blessing it with the cross, the Holy Cross. Other people say it's to let the fairies out. But really and truly, it's just so your bread is going to bake more evenly. And then just take a cookie sheet. And I've just floured it lightly so it's not going to stick. And then just take our bread and put it on right there. We're going to put it in the oven for about 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to lower it down to slightly lower heat around 375, 350 for about another 30 minutes. Our soda bread's been in the oven for about 45 minutes, so we're just going to take a quick look at it and see if it's ready. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. You can see that nice crust that we're getting on top there. To tell if it's done, just turn it over onto the bottom and give it a tap with the back of your knuckles. And you can get that nice hollow sound, and that hollow sound means that the bread's ready. And just place it on a cooling rack. Now, I can never really wait long enough to eat this. I always like to eat it hot, but it is really worth leaving it for at least 5-10 minutes to cool down, because you're going to get a much better texture on your bread. What I like to do is cut it up and serve it with some Irish cheeses. And all these Irish cheeses are actually available in the grocery store here in the US, so it's great. What I have here is some Inverno, which is a hard cheese, Irish cheese. It's similar to something like a Pecorino Romano. This is an aged cheddar, a Dubliner cheddar here. I've also got a Red Leicester, which is English in origin but made in Ireland. And then we have this mature Irish cheddar that's also made with whiskey. And I believe they make one with stout too. So it's a perfect accompaniment to your soda bread. I'm telling you, it's a great lunch. A big slice of soda bread, a bit of butter, and a big hunk of cheese, and that's all you'll need to keep you going. Míle fáilte agus lá féile hana duit. That means 100,000 welcomes and happy St. Patrick's Day in Gaelic. My name is Chef Diane Stopford, and this week what I'm going to do is show you how to cook up the ultimate St. Paddy's Day feast. And I'm talking real Irish food cooked by yours truly, a real Irish girl. What we have here is some beef and Guinness. That's my dad's recipe. Some colcannon, some Irish soda bread with our lovely Irish cheeses and butter, and of course all washed down with the perfect Irish coffee. Now, to tell you the truth, we don't actually eat corned beef and cabbage in Ireland. I know, shock horror, it's terrible, but it's actually an Irish-American dish. And how it originated was during the famine, when all the Irish immigrants came to the US, they wanted to make the traditional bacon and cabbage, but they could not find the Irish bacon. So they were settled near the Jewish, and they saw the brisket and the corned beef that they ate and decided that that was a good enough substitute, and they go with that. So there's that little bit of folklore out of the way. Now, what I decided I'd actually make for you is something that we do eat back in Ireland, and this is beef in Guinness, plain and simple. And it's a traditional Irish beef and Guinness stew. So first things first, of course, is your beef, and this is just some stewing beef. It's slightly tougher, but it's going to have lots of flavor in it. And I'm just going to add a little bit of cayenne pepper. Not so traditional Irish, but it does go into some seasoned flour with some salt and pepper, and just toss our beef in that flour. Now, the flour is just going to help thicken the stew. Get a nice heavy saucepan or pot, like a Dutch oven like this. And put some oil in your pot, and what we're going to do is brown off the beef to give it a nice bit of color and flavor. So now our oil is nice and hot. I'm going to throw in our beef. So when you're adding your beef to the pan, let it get nice and brown. Don't move it around and mess with it, or it's not going to get that nice brown crust on the outside that's going to give you all that flavor. So you see our beef is just browning up there nicely. Just make sure it's brown on both sides. And of course, the reason why we eat so many stews and potatoes and heavier dishes in Ireland is because we do have bad weather. It is freezing cold half the time, and you really need something that's going to stick to your bones and fill you up and keep you warm in the winter. So that's what this dish is perfect for. And of course, if you're going out on a night of drinking on St. Paddy's Day, this is perfect lineage for the stomach and a great hangover cure the next day. And I'm going to add in our onions. I have about 2 large onions there, a little bit of garlic, and some tomato puree or tomato paste. Just add in about a cup of water or so, and it's just going to dissolve that tomato paste in there. I'm just going to put the pot on that and let it cook away for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm going to add a few sprigs of thyme for flavor. It's just really simple seasonings you'll see here. There's not a lot of ingredients, nothing fancy. The Guinness. Now don't be mean with the Guinness. I was looking through some recipes and they were terrible mean with the Guinness. Putting a cup in or something. I say go for a whole can. You know, all it's going to do is evaporate out and add extra flavor, and you're going to get that lovely caramelized malty flavor of the Guinness. And actually, when you go and give blood in Dublin at the blood bank, you get a pint of Guinness after too. So I remember my friends in college when they were a little thirsty, a little hungry, would go give blood and do something good and get a pint back. Pint in and a pint back. Last thing in, for carrots of course. Bit of colour and flavour. Now, there's one more ingredient I'm just going to add to our beef and Guinness, and that's a little bit of orange peel. It may not be the most traditional ingredient going in there, but that zesty orange flavour just adds a little lightness and depth of flavour to our beef and Guinness. So that lid on, turn it down to a simmer, and leave it there for about 2.5 hours until your beef is nice and tender, your rich sauce is thickened up. So just to finish it off for a bit of colour and a little freshness, just some freshly chopped parsley. And of course you need to serve this up with nothing less but a big pot of spuds or potatoes. So enjoy, it's your beef and Guinness. Taste of home. Níla fáilte agus lá féile hana ditch. That means 100,000 welcomes and happy St. Patrick's Day in Gaelic. My name is Chef Diane Stopford, and this week what I'm going to do is show you how to cook up the ultimate St. Paddy's Day feast. And I'm talking real Irish food cooked by yours truly, a real Irish girl. What we have here is some beef and Guinness. That's my dad's recipe. Some colcannon, some Irish soda bread with our lovely Irish cheeses and butter, and of course all washed down with the perfect Irish coffee. There's no better dish to go with a nice big bowl of beef and Guinness other than colcannon. And what colcannon is, of course, is a traditional base of mashed potatoes. Yes, you have to get them in somewhere, along with some kale and some onions simmered in milk with lots and lots of good Irish butter. So first thing I'm going to do is I've got a pan here that's just got about 1/4 inch of water simmering. I'm going to add some salt, and I'm going to add some kale, green kale or curly kale as you call it at home. And I've just chopped that up roughly and I've de-stemmed it. So just put in the kale. We're just going to steam that. So I'm just going to put the lid on that and let it steam. That should only take a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, I have some milk here, some whole milk just simmering. And to that I'm going to add some nice finely sliced onions. And what the milk is going to do is going to cook the onions and give them a nice mellow flavor. So it's going to get rid of that harsh onion flavor. And just simmer it gently. You don't want your milk to burn because of course you don't want that burnt milk flavor in your colcannon. Now colcannon is a really traditional Irish dish. It's usually served around Halloween, and you get a big steaming bowl of colcannon. And it's tradition that you hide either a ring or a coin in the colcannon, and whoever gets the ring or the coin, of course, is said that they're going to get wealth or marriage within a year, whichever they want, I guess. What I have here is some potatoes that I've just boiled and mashed up, and you want to give them a good mash. And at this stage, this is when I like to put in a good knob of butter. And you see, I have some Irish butter here, and it's available in all the stores, so there's no excuse for not using it. It's a salted butter, and you can see that bright yellow color on our butter, and that is because of all the rain and bad weather we have in Ireland. It produces so much grass that those happy cows get to eat all that grass all year long, and thus the milk is very high in vitamin A and beta carotene, giving our yellow color to our lovely butter. Get a bit of muscle in there. You want to get them nice and smooth. Make sure your potatoes are warm when you're also mashing them, or else you will get them lumpy and they're not going to absorb all that lovely butter. So you can see our kale is almost done here. It's still that lovely bright green color, so we're still retaining all those nutrients that we're getting from our kale, all our folic acid and B vitamins and iron. I'm just going to strain that off and let it drain. So our onions have simmered down in the milk, and you can see they've become nice and soft. I've just used a white onion here actually, but you could use scallions if you wanted, kind of the Champ Ulster style potatoes, but a white onion's fine. A red onion, whatever onion you have. To finish off our colcannon, what I'm going to do is just put a couple of spoonfuls of the onions in there, and I'm just going to put in a couple of handfuls of our kale. Squeeze out all the water. You see how bright green, great color that is. Another knob of the old butter won't go astray. A little bit of salt, and then we're just gonna. I just like to beat it up with a wooden spoon. I think it's the easiest thing to do it with. And if you don't have kale, you can also use cabbage. And I'm just going to pour in a little bit of our onion milk. Another little knob of butter just to melt on top. And there you have colcannon mashed potatoes.